that all over the world can provide the wherewithal for its citizenry, hence the need for public-spirited and more private organizations to support government at all levels in the quest towards improving the personal prosperity and delivering the dividends of democracy. The governor disclosed this in his address during the handing over and commissioning of an 80-bed isolation center donated by Lafarge and Unilever at the State Hospital, Ogtv. Represented by his deputy, Engineer Noimo Salako Oyedele, Governor Abiodun added that the gesture has demonstrated the visible commitment of his government in providing good governance for the people of the state through an all-inclusive and participatory system. He noted that the result of this approach has been a continued development in all sectors of the economy in the state and hitherto improved welfare for the people, adding that his administration is determined to sustain the momentum.
I'm returning to commission this new state-of-the-art facility provided for PPP initiative. This project itself is very unique. It's a tripartite partnership between the state, Lafarge PLC, and Unilever PLC. We have both taken the concept of corporate social responsibility as a principle and practice towards the continued socio-economic development of our people.
In our remarks, the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, expressed delight at the handing over of the facility to the state government, saying it was part of the mission of Prince Dapo Abiodun-led administration to provide quality, affordable, and accessible health care for the people of the state. Also speaking, the country head Lafarge, Khalid, represented by Lulu Akinyemi, Chief Financial Officer, said the isolation center is a continuation of his company's support to communities as well as support the state government in its fight to stem the spread of coronavirus in the state. The Ogun State government has said that the COVID-19 vaccine is free in all public and private health facilities across the state. Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, made this known during a sensitization visit to Obatiti Dada International Market, Ogtv, in Abeokuta local government area, stressing that residents would not be charged in any part of the state for taking the vaccine. Koka, who commended the efforts of the private health practitioners in the state for making the service free, warned that anyone who charges any fees whatsoever should be reported to the State Health Ministry for appropriate disciplinary action. She noted that the state had taken proactive measures at ensuring that no eligible resident was left out in the campaign by engaging tertiary institutions, private health facilities, marketplaces, as well as religious centers and parks and garages, expressing optimism that it would surpass the 2 million target.
Private proprietors have been magnanimous enough to do this as a CSR, corporate social responsibility, that they need to provide people to give them the solution. So you cannot go anywhere in the state and be charged for yourself to be vaccinated.
The health commissioner, who acknowledged that the traders who are key stakeholders in the campaign, also charged them to encourage their customers and other loved ones to take the vaccine as part of measure to ensure their well-being. In our response, the Yaloja General, Abeokuta Chief Mrs. Adebisi Oyetoro, commended the state government for taking the steps to ensure that every eligible resident was not left out, promising to mobilize traders and customers to seize the opportunity and be vaccinated. Ogun State has continued to prove that it is first in all aspects, especially in the education sector, by producing winners in the just concluded Southwest Junior Engineers, Technicians and Scientists JETS competition that cut across the Southwest states. The competition, which saw the state emerging first positions in 11 various competitions out of 17, such as the Best Interstate Competition, Best in Primary Mathematics Quiz Competition, Best in Biology, Chemistry and Computer Quiz Competition in the junior secondary categories, and best in senior school categories in mathematics, physics, and technology. The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abeokuta, addressed the participants at the maiden edition of the Southwest JETS competition with the theme, "The Role of Science, Technology and Innovation in Addressing Human and Food Insecurity Amid COVID-19 Pandemic in Nigeria," held at Abeokuta Grammar School. The Commissioner, while commending the participants for a good sporting spirit, urged them to continue to toe the path of excellence, which he said would prepare them for future challenges. Arigbabu showed his delight at the record of winnings by the state, which he said has placed the state as the overall winner to represent the Southwest at the national level in Abuja, and charged the representatives not to rest on their oars by putting in their best to bring the prizes home and make the Southwest states proud.
And I want you to have this spirit of participation, which we call the spirit of Olympics. This is very remarkable. Remarkable because it is the first time this is happening, and I feel highly elated. I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of our governor. This is to also charge other states that when we have this type of competition in their states, they should actually use the state template and improve on it.
In his remarks, the chairman, State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, Dr. Femi Majekodumi, represented by the Director, Department of Academics and School Services, Mrs. Jokotade Agbatiogu, revealed that the emergence of COVID-19 pandemic had been an eye-opener on the need to adopt a technologically driven education and to also raise the bar of educational delivery in the country. In her welcome address, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mrs. Abosede Ogunleye, enjoined all the learners across the Southwest states to put in their best at the national competition to enable them emerge overall champions. Broadcast journalists have been challenged to pressurize the federal government to make the National Broadcasting Commission truly independent. This was the recommendations of Mr. Lekon Ajia, Toun Okewale Shonaya, and Funke Treasure Anike Ade, who discussed papers presented at a broadcast summit organized by the NBC. Fowora Adesanwo, who was at the Lagos Airport Hotel, Ikeja, venue of the summit, now reports.
A win-win outing. The topic, conflict reporting, and imperative of professionalism was supposed to be a no-holds-barred affair, and truly it was. Professor Armstrong Idachaba presented lead paper, while Professor Sonny Ododo did the second paper. Both papers frown at the complacent nature of reportage, describing most reports on the airwaves as weak, unprofessional, lazy, and hurriedly prepared. Both Idachaba and Ododo believe that it was better for journalists to withhold most of their reports than present them abaked. This they described as drawing the nation close to the precipice.
During the NSAS campaign, it happened. DJ Switch that is celebrated, a social media source, now becoming a major source for established broadcasters. You know, was showing pictures of people that were injured, were brutalized, you know, and many of you were gleefully taking them.
Many journalists that report Boko activities, they didn't visit Maiduguri. They depend on hearsays.
Lekon Ajia, former Director, Public Affairs, NBC, pointed out that while agreeing that there had been institutional degeneration of the Nigerian Union of Journalists and the Radio and Television Theatre Workers Union, RATAU, in the area of training, welfare, and monitoring of the efficiency of their members, electronics media practitioners can only report conflict, adding that it was the business of government to ensure they are prevented.
Sir, if the government is not performing, journalists must say it. They must report the facts as they are, but they have a responsibility to reflect all sides of the story.
The Chief Executive Officer, Women Radio 91.7 FM, Tong Okiwale Shonaya, said the agenda for media owners must shift from eroding professionalism, adding that it was high time to bend NBC towards genuine independence from government control. The third discussant, a veteran broadcaster, Funke Treasure Anike Ade, urged broadcast journalists not to allow themselves be used as propaganda machineries. The outbreak of COVID-19 had made the National Broadcasting Corporation to take the summit to all the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. Over 150 broadcast journalists attended the summit. Adefowura Adesanwo, Ogtv News.
The Ogun State Head of Service, Dr. Nofiu Aigoro, has been admonished to use his new office to add value to workers in the state, as it's now the bridge between them, the political class, and the public at large. The chairman, editorial board, pen-pushing media, Mrs. Funke Fadugba, gave the admonition today when she led other members of the editorial team to the office of the Ogun State Head of Service at Okemoso in Abeokuta. According to her, the team came for the visit to congratulate, rejoice, and stamp the authority of confidence on him as the 18th head of the civil and public service, adding that Dr. Aigoro is assuming the mantle of leadership at a significant period where people's emotions will have to be carefully managed to avoid breakdowns, describing the head of service as a pathfinder and leader for others to follow to get to the top in their careers, chosen careers. Mrs. Fadugba pledged the loyalty and continued support of the pen pushers to his success in all his undertakings. Responding, Dr. Nofiu Aigoro expressed happiness to receive and be associated with the team for identifying with him as the head of service and solicited for more prayers and support to meet all expectations and even surpass them.
The council is taking to consult you in the area, so feel free to share your ideas with me, and because you are a critical group, you see, you palpate really what is going on. So I'm glad that I have you as friends and also be part of you, and you will do the info.
While cherishing the counsel given to him from the mouth of the elder, Dr. Aigoro said God's guidance to discharge his duties effectively and efficiently in order to make them proud is what he will always seek after. You are watching Ogtv News. Still ahead, Senate alleges secret employment in the Federal Civil Service. We will bring you the details in a moment. Glad to have you back. Motorists in Ogun State have been urged to comply with traffic rules and regulations as well as obey traffic officers in the state. This was the submission of the State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, at the opening ceremony of the State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps Trace Annual Corps Commanders Conference in Abeokuta. Ronke Adeyemi reports.
Road traffic management is dynamic in nature. and hugely capital intensive. Hence, the need to leverage on the benefits derivable from information and communications technology and to drive safety on roads. For this purpose, the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps, TRACE, held its 6th annual TRACE Corps Commandants Conference in Abeokuta with the theme, Panacea for Our Traffic Woes, Improving Road Safety through Technological-Driven Roads and Traffic Management. The conference was graced by dignitaries across the state. Representing the state governor, the Chief of Staff, Alhaji Shuaib Afolabi Salisu, stressed the need for the people to join hands with traffic officers in order to reduce crashes on road.
The TRACE and other organizations, they are strategizing, they are building their capacity to do more, but they cannot achieve more unless and until members of the public also support them. So please support FRC, support TRACE, support police, support civil defense, support each and every one of these organizations to discharge their duties. We will all be better for it.
Dignitaries at the event emphasized the need for ICT towards improving road safety in the country.
It's a veritable demonstration of the clear-headedness of the leadership of the Corps. I believe it affords you the opportunity to evaluate previous performances.
It's a collaborative effort because the complementary efforts that we are doing, we need that. The governor has said that, and we've been doing that too in terms of special operations.
I'm glad to say that there are two initiatives that the government, under the leadership of President Abeokuta, is taking to address this issue. The first one I would mention is that all the enforcement agencies within the states are coming together now to form a unit.
The conference was thereafter declared open by representative of the state governor. The TRACE Corps Members Conference is a veritable platform to rebrand, rebuild, and reposition the Corps for efficient service delivery in this technological age. Aderonke Adeyemi, Ogtv News.
If you were in Songo a few months ago and you passed through the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, you will marvel at the quick turnaround that has happened since the current administration in Ogun State commenced the ongoing palliative work. At the moment, the bad portions of the road which made plying that axis a nightmare for commuters have disappeared, paving the way for free flow of traffic. Bumi Adigu was on this road and he completes the story.
The Lagos-Abeokuta road has been in the news for some months now. This is due to the deplorable condition of some parts of the road. This has brought hardship to Nigerians, especially those who regularly ply the road. The governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun, then set machinery in motion to put an end to this through some palliative measures. Now, few weeks after, succor has come the way of the people living in the area, as traffic gridlocks always experienced on the road have now disappeared, and life is getting back to normal for them.
Before the railways, the road is spoiled. They don't do the road now.
So how do you not see it?
Yeah, he did okay. He tried. They tried. They can still give him a kudos that he tried.
Although contract of the road, according to the federal government, has been awarded, but a few things that need to be put in place before contractors move to site are what Ogun State government is doing now. The state government has, however, been commended for this. Bumi Adigu, Ogtv News.
The Federal Executive Council has approved Nigeria Air, the nation's national carrier that will take to the skies hopefully in April 2022. It's the 6th and perhaps the last time the Federal Executive Council under the Buhari presidency will be considering the establishment of a national carrier.
Nigeria Air, which of course, if you remember back in time, this was subject to national debate, and 400,000 people participated to choose the name, the color, the logo, everything. And it was produced that time. And it was launched also in Farnborough as far back as 2018.
The structure of the proposed airline indicates that government will be owning not more than 5% of the equity share and 46% by Nigerian entrepreneurs. The remaining 49% would be held by strategic equity partners to be sourced during the procurement phase of the project.
This will generate about 70,000 jobs. These 70,000 jobs, they are higher than the total number of civil servants that we have in the country. Its importance had been well discussed, but one important item is the AU Agenda 2063, which speaks to integration of Africa, which speaks to the commerce and trade within Africa, that is intra-Africa. The quickest way that you can integrate Africa is by air. Once the right policy is in place, like SATEM, you can connect Africa, and then, of course, the needed integration will happen.
The Minister of Civil Aviation, Hadi Sirika, also secured the Council's approval of a 1.49 billion naira contract for the provision of automated civil aviation regulatory equipment called the Truth Machine for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Also approved by the Council is the award of contract for the provision of training, logistics, operational equipment, and maintenance support under the Integrated National Surveillance and Waterways Protection Solution Infrastructure in Nigeria. Ogun State House of Assembly has screened the nominee for the State Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General, Mr. Oluwashina Olanrewaju Ogungbade, with a charge on him to ensure the immediate implementation of the State Law Reform Commission 2021 passed earlier in the year. The Speaker, Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo, who presided over the screening, gave the charge during the exercise at the Assembly Complex in Abeokuta. Correspondent Kolawole Osho covered the exercise, and his report is presented in this package.
Following the nomination of Mr. Oluwashina Olanrewaju Ogungbade as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Ogun State by Governor Dapo Abiodun to the legislative arm, screening exercise has been conducted for him. Speaker Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo, while speaking, tasked the commissioner nominee to ensure the immediate implementation of the State Law Reform Commission 2021 passed earlier in the year. Oluomo stressed that the law was targeted at retaining the state in its pride of place through seamless review of the state's operational laws in line with societal realities and global best practices. The Speaker, in company of other lawmakers, equally charged him to ensure that reforms were put in place to strengthen justice administration through seamless access to justice by the people, with a view to further decongesting all correctional facilities in the state.
The essence of democracy is the fundamental human rights, particularly as it relates to the three arms of government. Nobody is independent, is totally independent of the other. The intendment of the drafters of the Constitution is for all of us to work together in harmony for the progress of the state. We believe we are going to have a very robust and beneficial relationship with your office.
Other state lawmakers charged the nominee to use his wealth of experience upon confirmation to further promote mutual interdependence of the three arms of government to deepen democratic practice. Responding, Ogungbade stated that he was determined to ensure that every common man in the society has unhindered access to justice, adding that he would aggressively explore all legal and administrative mechanisms, including plea bargain, to aid justice dispensation.
So what I intend to do is to come up with measures to ensure that citizens have more access to justice. In my career, I have met people who have suffered unjustly simply because they do not have that access to justice. One way of doing that is by making use of this innovation of e-bargaining to decongest.
The commissioner nominee, an indigene of Abeokuta North and senior advocate of Nigeria designate, attended Obafemi Awolowo University, where he bagged Bachelor of Law in 1998. He has varied legal practice experience, having appeared as lead counsel in over 50 appeals decided by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
The House of Representatives has resolved to work with the executive arm of the federal government towards creating a roadmap for the diversification of Nigeria's economy for petroleum to other sectors over the next 10 years. The resolution is based on a motion by a member, Dennis Idahosa, at the plenary on Tuesday, which was titled, "Needs to create an economic revenue roadmap for the future of Nigeria." Moving the motion that was unanimously adopted by the lawmakers, it also recalled that the 26th meeting of the conference parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, focusing on addressing climate crisis in decades ahead, was held in Glasgow from October 31 to 12 November 2021. The lawmaker noted that a resolution was passed at the UNCOP 26 2020 summit to phase down fossil fuel to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. He also noted that parties to the Paris Agreement adopted at COP21 in Paris on December 12, 2015, entering into force on November 4, 2016, are expected to transit from fossil fuel to clean energy and reach a net zero ambition for greenhouse gases emission. The Senate on Wednesday raised the alarm that some officials of the Federal Civil Service are engaging in secret recruitment, claiming that there was an embargo on employment. The Red Chamber, therefore, challenged heads of the various federal ministries and agencies to provide evidence that there was an official circular placing an embargo on employment. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Federal Character Commission and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator Danjuma Allah, stated this when
Mrs. Rashidat Bulujoko glorified God for attaining the mandatory 35 years in service, ill and hearty.
There has been lots of, we have ups and downs, but we thank God for His grace and mercy. God has always been there, so we bless the name of the Lord.
The retirement ceremony had in attendance members of ANCOPS, ASUS, NASU, NUT, with both serving and retired principals not left out.
It's now time for business news with Okweyemi Adewumi.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. Our top stories. The contribution of the Nigerian information and communication technology sector to the gross domestic product in Q3 2021 declined by 3.72% from 17.92% recorded in the preceding quarter. In nominal terms, the aggregate GDP in the period under review stood at 45.11 trillion naira. This performance is higher when compared to third quarter 2020, which recorded 39.09 trillion naira, indicating a year-on-year nominal growth rate of 15.41%. Of the total real GDP, the sector contributed 14.20% in 2021 Q3, higher than the same quarter of the previous year, which was 13.47% and lower than the preceding quarters, in when it recorded 17.92%. The Central Bank of Nigeria has urged the federal government to prioritize investments in infrastructure to improve the country's business environment and boost economic growth. Mr. Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, made a call in Abuja while reading the communique on the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Apex Bank. Emefiele said that the MPC observed the impact of poor infrastructure on rising domestic price levels. He, however, commended government's effort at economic diversification while calling for more support to boost non-oil exports. The committee commended the gradual diversification of the economy with the increased contribution of the non-oil sector to government revenues. It called for more support to increase non-oil exports as a source of foreign exchange earnings into the economy. Members also reiterated the impact of poor infrastructure on rising domestic price levels, urging the federal government to prioritize investment in public utilities to improve the business environment. President Muhammadu Buhari has suspended the inauguration of the newly constituted board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, said this in a statement titled Suspension of Inauguration of Newly Constituted Board of NNPC Limited. He revealed that the inauguration of the board initially scheduled to hold on Wednesday was suspended indefinitely. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the immediate suspension of the inauguration of the newly constituted board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, scheduled for Wednesday, 24th November 2021, until further notice, said Mustafa. The World Bank has called on the federal government to remove fuel subsidy so as to reduce its indebtedness to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and increase tax on certain items as a way of shoring up the fortune of the economy. The bank also raised its 2021 and 2022 economic growth forecast for Nigeria to 2.7% and 2.8% respectively from the 1.8% and 2.1% growth projection it made in June. These are contained in the November 2021 Nigerian Development Update released by the bank in Abuja. According to the World Bank, the poor for whom the subsidy was instituted do not benefit from it, so the government needs to dump it. The World Bank report stated that Nigeria is the only country in the world with a universal price subsidy that applies exclusively to PMS. Universal price subsidies for liquid fuels are almost always regressive, as the rich consume far more fuel than the poor. And finally, Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Wednesday presented 2022 appropriation bill of over 1.3 trillion before members of the State House of Assembly for consideration and approval. Governor Sanwo-Olu presented the proposed budget, sized and tagged its consolidation. The 2022 budget proposal has 564.9 billion naira for recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure of 823.5 billion naira at a well-attended event in Alausa, Ikeja. The budget presentation was initially scheduled for November 17, but was rescheduled. The 2022 budget estimates is a bit higher than that of the outgoing year 2021 of 1.16 trillion naira. And that rounds up the business segment of the news. Back to Tunji.